Today we catch up with Eric Johns, a PhD candidate at UC Riverside and a KUCR DJ. He is an instructional design assistant with UCR's Excite team. So Eric, you're currently in New Orleans. What's your experience with Hurricane Zeta and hurricanes in general?
Yeah, so, if you've been following it, it's been the most active hurricane season on record, 30 named storms, and, six or seven made landfall in Louisiana. Most of the ones were misses for New Orleans itself, but Zeta was a direct hit. Meaning that the actual eye of the storm came over us. So like hurricanes are really, really massive storms. They're huge. And whenever you see it on the news, there's like this big area that's like in front of it, right? That's called the cone of uncertainty. That just means it's someplace where the center of the storm could go. But if you're far away from it, you might get some different levels of it. But typically the eye is where the strongest winds are. And yeah, so this is the first time that I've been in a hurricane since Hurricane Andrew in like 1994-ish that the eye went over where I was at. And the eye is really cool in so you have this terrible weather event that has all sorts of crazy winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds and rains depending on the storm. But whenever the eye comes, it seems like this storm is over, and it's the most eerie, calm, crazy light situation. Even if it's at night, like the lights are like really eerie sci-fi feeling. There's no sounds of animals because if they're in that, like, they can't get, like, if a bird gets caught in the eye of the storm, it has to fly with the storm till the storm dissipates, because the winds around the eye are too strong. So yeah, like the skies kind of clear up. Everything's really foggy. It's a really cool feeling, but it's also like, like that as soon as the end of the storm comes, that's the worst of the storm right there. So it's this moment where you feel really calm and things are really beautiful and haunting, but knowing that there is like something else that's coming. And then the eye wall hit after that. The winds were super, 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 super crazy. But it was a really fast storm. We were really lucky with that. I think in total it lasted like 3 hours, but hurricanes can last for, 24 hours. You see them sometimes where they just like sit there and they don't move. That was actually the last hurricane that I experienced, which I don't remember which one it was, but it just sat and dumped on us. And that's when a hurricane itself is really bad. But typically the storm itself is not the place where the danger lies. For most folks, for house folks, for those with the privilege of being, in a safe home, it's not where the danger lies. Is after the storm, when there are downed power lines and debris everywhere. Or people are running generators. I think it happens a lot is people put generators too close to their house, and they either get the output from the gas inside their home or it catches on fire, or the institutional failures that happened after Katrina. Like, none of that was the storm itself. It was the failures of the state and the failures of infrastructure that caused the disaster of Katrina, rather than the storm itself. But typically, if you grew up here like I did, it's they're not a big worry. I have like a bunch of water in case we don't have drinkable water for a few days. You get some canned food, and my place right here, I actually don't have a gas oven, which is not great, because if you're without power for several days, which I was without power for a number of days after Zeta, you can't cook. But that's when your friends come in and help you out. They bring you food, you bring them food. You they help you charge your stuff. They help you get the things you need. You know, you get, you work collaboratively, you know, support and mutual aid and make things happen.
Nice. So you're currently working on your dissertation. What's it like doing research and presenting at conferences during COVID?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's challenging in that, should I want to do archival work? Obviously I can't go to the archive right now. But it's also led a lot of archives to put material online, which is great and also frustrating. And it's just frustrating because it winds up being like, oh no, now everything's available to me in a way that sometimes you want the limit. You know, you need to get done, so you need to be limited with certain things. But UCR has done a real fantastic job of making resources available to researchers. Access to a database called HathiTrust has been incredible. I mean, it's HathiTrust is like, you know, you like the Google Books. Sometimes you look something and you find the Google Books and it has some scan pages or like a little teeny tiny line. HathiTrust is like that, but you have access to the whole book. And it's just huge. It's like, it's just, it's amazing because, you know, you can't get books from, well, for a long time in the pandemic, you couldn't get books from the library. When I decided to relocate across the country, I had to return all 170 books I had checked out from Rivera. And just that, and power read through all of them that I didn't have available through me in another way. And then conferences have been interesting. I really have been enjoying conferences that I'm not participating in, and like that, that I can participate from afar, from conferences that are happening internationally that I normally wouldn't have access to because they're being streamed. And but though, you know, this year I presented at the Society for Ethnomusicology, and I just got done presenting at the American Musicological Society conferences, two main conferences for those two societies, for those two fields of study. And they're challenging because it's so exhausting. Like we're all so exhausted from looking at Zoom screens, and conferences are exhausting in and of themselves. And to mix that with like not having traveled to the conference, so now you're trying to pack in these multi-day conferences on top of work, on top of your regular life. They're just really exhausting, and they typically want you to have recorded your talk beforehand. So both for SEM and AMS, you know, I finished and recorded my paper, my presentation, you know, over a month before the conference.
And what's SEM and AMS?
Oh, Society for Ethnomusicology and American Musicological Society. And yeah, and so for both, I recorded two different talks, but like, so I recorded my SEM paper, which is on how histories of tango reify the Argentine nation as being a white nation, how they produce this white supremacist narrative of music and invisibilize people of color within the history. So I was working real hard on that, finished it, and then I started moving on to my American Musicological Society presentation, which was on a very music, like talking about the notes itself kind of thing. So I shifting complete modes from critical race theory to, you know, topic theory, like semiotics. So two different worlds. And so I'm focusing on that. And then I finish my topic theory paper, and then I have to actually answer questions at the ethnomusicology conference back about the critical race studies, get done with that, and then immediately move back to the musicology one. So it's like jumping in and out of them. And yeah, it's very, it's a lot, obviously really exhausting, but you know, both my presentations were really well received. I got excellent feedback. I got, you know, people reaching out to me wanting to collaborate and work on some stuff. So very excited about the possibilities from both those conferences. It was good, other than being exhausted.
That's cool, man. That sounds amazing. And you were the grand prize winner of UC Riverside's Grad Slam. Any updates with that? And what is Grad Slam for those who are unfamiliar?
Yeah, so that was basically the last thing I did before COVID-19 hit. So Grad Slam is it's a UC-wide competition that pits, well, not pits, it's not like it's a competition, but it's basically it's kind of like a TED Talk kind of thing, but there's a prize and you get scored by different folks, and it's about your research and the way you present your research. I was pretty hesitant to participate in it, partially because nobody from the arts side of the humanities had ever won before. The year before me, a political scientist did win, but poli-sci and musicology are two different sides of the humanities and social sciences there. And yeah, so I was pretty hesitant about participating in it, but I did it thanks to the encouragement from some fantastic people. And I surprisingly won the first round, and then I won the next round and won the other rounds, and got to the final, and I was, up against people doing like amazing research and amazing work, things like innovative ideas of like cleaning up the Santa Ana rivers, pollution, ways of distributing painkillers in non-addictive manners, like two people doing incredible things. And I thought that, again, I had no chance of ever winning this at all, because the panel of judges is like, they're all science folks, they're all engineering and science, like magnates and investors. And I was like, oh, it's an LA Times journalist. That's the person I'm gonna like, I'll have a shot with them. And of course they're the science journalist. So I was like, there's no way this is happening. But in the end, yeah, I was really honored to have won the UC Riverside side of it. And the next step from that was to do the UC-wide competition, which was going to be hosted at the LinkedIn headquarters in San Francisco. And, the UC president at the time, Janet Napolitano, was going to ask you like random weird questions as while the panel is deliberating, and it like just sounds like a really surreal, weird experience. But then COVID-19 happened and they canceled the final of it. But the update is that they are going to actually incorporate the 2020 winners with the 2021 winners. So I actually will have an opportunity to present at the final. And I'm real excited for that. I don't have any, real huge hopes for winning. It's just the experience of doing it. It was such a, like, I've never won a competition before. Like, I never have ever entered something and won. so especially for something that was like based on like some sort of like that I contribute something and then that's the thing that wins. That's never happened to me before. So it was a really interesting experience for me in that way. And to kind of convince myself that, maybe I should put myself out there more in things that I don't think I have a shot at. Mm-hmm. And the financial side of it was hugely helpful in this difficult time. I wouldn't have been able to move across the country if it hadn't been for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the final, and I'm really excited to see the kind of work that the other UCs are putting out. I mean, UC Riverside I was just so impressed with. I've always known that our campus has produced incredible research, and to see it and to be engaged in conversations with other folks across the whole campus in that way was really rewarding and really awesome, and helped me understand much better that some of the divisions that are drawn across university campuses are kind of more like just out of, like, at least my end, like me not understanding the STEM world, like, and now I know that there's a lot more collaboration, there's a lot more possibilities for building a better university community, a better system of research across the whole thing, even if my research is real hippy dippy, music stuff. That the science folks still respect it, and obviously I have great respect for what everybody else is doing. So I'm super stoked on being able to do the final. I thought that was just like one of the many things that disappeared with COVID-19. And one more shot. I don't really know what format it's going to be in. I assume that I'm just going to be me in front of my Zoom screen again presenting, but hopefully my charisma will carry across the screen as well.
Absolutely, man. I think you'll do well.
Thank you.